Hello everyone! Today I got a plug and play to show you, and we're going to start off with the back of it, and we'll get to the front. There's something very interesting on the front of it, but you gotta eat your vegetables first. And this is called the JG0602. Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? And yeah, the English, it's not that bad, but I mean, it is there. Like, for instance, even the title, TV Hand Toy Operation Instruction. And obviously this is a plug and play, so it's a little controller that you connect to your TV. It's got games built in, with built-in game. Or no, with game built in. And let's see, so the English, it's there, but not really that noticeable. Please correctly fix 4 AAA number batteries according to the sign in the battery case. And it's kind of like you have to read all this stuff like almost phonetically. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Attention. Please replace batteries when appears the cursor without images. And 2, avoid any liquid flowing into the machine. So yeah, don't play this while you're like in a creek or a river or something where water's just flowing into the machine. Don't do that. And let's see. Please take out the batteries if non-use for a long time. Yeah, this is just really strange. And yeah, I also like how they have like single bullet, single jump, repeating bullet. So yeah, just explain the turbo buttons and everything. Let's see. They call the select button a selector, which when I think about it, that is kind of like the correct term for a select button. But then again, I mean, then you would have to call the start button a starter. So I think start and select, selector, starter is pretty much the same thing. And let's see. Yeah, that's all normal. Now the games list, you've seen some of these before. Transmission, I know that we've seen that one before on other plug and plays. Also Mars, Van 1, I think. Aether 2. I know there was that one game, Aether Kavas, which is one of my favorite ripoff games. It was, it's actually just a ripoff of Macross for the Famicom. UFO Race is just F1. So yeah, some of these you've already seen. The coolest one, though, the most interesting title that I'm dying to know what the fuck this is. It's this one, 25. Rescue Cuck. I'm not kidding you. I just realized it this morning when I was looking at this product and, you know, figuring out how I was going to review it. And then I look, I'm like, oh my god, that's misspelled, but it says Rescue Cuck. I imagine you play as a rescue man who is very emasculated, and he rescues beautiful women to bring them back to their very loving boyfriends. And yeah, so very interesting. Then there's this one, Spar and Star. If those two are the same fucking game, I am gonna throw a fit. Spar and Star, if it's just the same game and they just switched one letter in the title, there's gonna be hell to pay China. Let's see, then Conquerok. Bitha we've seen before. Conte Engie, that was Load Runner, but just, you know, just with a different title screen and everything. Yeah, so Rope Walker, I'm sure that's that Circus Charlie, Circus Chabley game, whatever. Yeah, so there's some of these that you've already seen before. And what you haven't seen, though, is the front of the box. So we're going to get to that right now. They made a little mistake, just a little tiny one. Try to see if you guys can figure out what it is. Are you guys ready for that? Are you ready? Alright, let's take a look. China. What happened? What the fuck is this? They actually put it upside down. Do you want to take another stab at this, China? Do you want to give it one more shot? Yeah, I've told you guys before, in the last video, in that $5 handheld review, I told you guys, I was like, look, I'm being completely serious. I don't think they look at these units before they go out. They just design it, they slap it on a package, and then they send it out to be sold. I don't think they test them or anything. This is my proof. This is Exhibit A. They don't test any of this shit. Nobody oversees this stuff. They just put it on a box and then they send it out. Nobody tests these games or these products, nothing. They just pump them out and that's it. There is no QA testing. And yeah, it makes no sense. They even have it in the correct orientation right here on the box. How could they make them... this mistake? And I know that there's gonna be that one contrarian guy in the comments who's like, oh, well, dude, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. They actually do that for efficient packaging, and that way they can, you know, stack on top of each other efficiently, and so there actually is a very good reason why they put it upside down, and you're just too much of a fucking retard to know that shit. No, there's no way that you could justify this. I could imagine that if, you know, if it wasn't a perfect square, well, almost a perfect square right here with the packaging, but it is just a square. It has this little thing right here for the tab that you can, you know, hang the product on, but this was not made for the sake of efficiency. If they wanted to be efficient, they would just take off that tag and just punch a hole in here. It makes no sense. Let's get off the packaging now. Okay, so it has 30 built-in games. It's Joy Game. I guess that's what the JG in the name stands for. Their 602nd console that they've ever made. Oh, geez, you guys, Big Three, they really need to catch up on this. Let's see. Oh, and it's new. Yeah. I know it's new. Yeah, Famicom. Oh, that's breathtaking technology. Oh, my God. 11 control buttons, which, when I first thought of that, I was like, what? No, it has 4, 5, 6, 7. But then I realized, oh, they're counting each direction of the D-pad as a second button. So when you do that, then yeah, it's 11 control buttons. Okay. AV output, 3D graphic. No. 3D graphic. No. What? Holy shit! I just realized that. That says 3D crap-hick. 3D crap-hick. That is a C. Because watch. Let's see if we could focus in on that. Okay, so that's a C. And I know there's a G in here somewhere. Oh, there you go. There's the G in game. That's a C. That's saying 3D crap-hick. Oh my God. This, I take it all back. This thing does not have false advertising at all. I'm sure of it. All right. Sterid sound. Again, that's a D right there. That's not an O. The O in sound is different from that. So that's sterid sound, whatever the fuck that is. Super capacity. What the hell does that even mean? Let's move on. High in focus picture. Oh, okay. I don't know what would be a low in focus picture. I don't know. Powerful game combination. Again, those last three, they're just buzzwords. They don't fucking mean anything. What is it when a game is not super capacity, low in focus, and is a weak game combination? What would be the opposite of that? It's just words on a box. That's it. Think about that next time you guys talk about deceptive packaging and everything, okay? Except I do give them credit for the crap-hick little description right there. Also, I love it that this packaging, it's totally resealable, so I can preserve it in all of its beauty once I'm done with this. So, let's open this up. And here's the unit. It's very simple. Nope, no instructions or anything in here, so nothing else to look at except for the unit. And yeah, it's actually a pretty normal looking little Famiclone. Oh my God, this shield type D-pad is terrible. It's kind of mushy. What does this feel like? This feels like it feels like there's like Play-Doh sitting underneath the D-pad. That's what it feels like. And it's got like jagged edges and stuff underneath there. You hear that clicking? That's because there's like, it's not like a smooth, movement type thing. All right, well, let's keep going. A, B, C, D. Ah, very cool. That's very intuitive. However, I wish that they put the A and B down below, but of course I'm sure there's another company which would sue them into the ground if they could find them. And one of the weird things is that you see the buttons are all in line. It's not like a Super NES or anything where it's like kind of diagonal like that. And to be honest, I kind of like this. I think that this is a really cool idea. Then that way you always know which ones are the turbo buttons that correspond to which one down here. So, I don't know. To be honest, I think that's not a bad idea that they had right there. We're going to go ahead and test this out. Let's see what the games are like. And I will be back shortly. Yoink. Alright, let's try out these games. First we have Sudoku. I don't play Sudoku, I don't know how to play Sudoku, I don't want to learn how to play Sudoku, so I have no interest in this game. The only parts that are worth mentioning is that the background music constantly loops Oh Susanna, and the title screen music is really fucking good. Like, way better than it deserves to be. which I assure you I will not be stealing and using as my outro track. Next up, we have Bugs. It's a game about bugs that move like tanks. They also sound like tanks. They also shoot like tanks. And they seem to be the size of tanks. But they're bugs. They're not tanks. That would just be silly. Next, we have Transmission. Transmission is a puzzle game where you use these teleporters to move across the level to collect these objects. It's kind of like an 8-bit version of Portal, except a lot worse. And then we have a shoot 'em up called Mars. Mars is a buggy fucking mess. The enemies are all glitched to hell, sometimes they appear and disappear, other times only half of them shows. It's also really hard to tell what's a power-up and what can kill you. You would also think that these objects that have letters on them, those would be power-ups. I mean, why else would it have a letter on there? It must stand for something. But no, as far as I could tell, that's like part of the objective. You like have to destroy those things. And when you get to the final boss, it's pretty much always the same, and it's just another letter. This is what a game looks like when it has zero QA testing and was probably designed at gunpoint. Next we have Burrow Explorer. This is a very simple game. It's actually simple to the point where it's incredibly boring. You just go around this little maze and you have to find your way to the exit. You could barely see anything in front of you, and because of that, that is the greatest difficulty. You just don't know what you're gonna run into. There's little collectibles to find, but I mean, it doesn't really seem to do a damn thing. The game is just so painfully boring. And now we have Garden War, which is kind of like a shooter where you play as a turret, kind of like, Space Invaders or something. But this game is an exercise in how not to design a game like that. Your hitbox is way too big, the enemy hitbox is way too small. I mean, at least your projectiles are big, but they move so slowly you could barely hit anything. The enemies fire on you, but they also make these like kamikaze diving attacks that are really hard to avoid. And the stages, they just kind of end abruptly. There's no indication that you shot down enough enemies or survived long enough. They just end and then you go to the next one. There's no boss battle or anything like that. And the next game is Matching, and you are never going to believe in a million years what this game is. It's a matching game! So yeah, you just turn over 2 cards at a time, you find the pairs, when you find a pair it eliminates them, but then you just move on until you have no cards left on the table. When you hit reset on the board, it resets the whole game, like it even does that thing where it blinks back into life. So as far as I could tell, it just rearranges the cards. There's no way to add difficulty or anything like that. In fact, the game is too easy because usually the matching pairs are right next to each other. Oh well, next! And now we have Box World. I like how the name is Box World, not Box Puzzle or Box Pushing or anything like that. No, this is Box World. You're stuck in like a dystopian universe where all you do is just push boxes for a living. I guess they also could have named it Career. This type of game gets cloned all the time. I mean, it's really simple, but it's so boring. The boredom actually eats away at you. You start trying to go a little bit faster, then you make stupid mistakes, and then back yourself into a corner. So yeah, this game teaches you don't have too much confidence because it's gonna fuck you over eventually. And next we have The Archer, and now we're getting into the good stuff. This one looks like they actually put some effort into it. You know, unless somebody points out in the comments that they just ripped off another Famicom game. It starts out a little confusing. I thought that you were supposed to hit those circular things that are coming out of that hole. I mean, you play as an archer, so I thought those were like the targets that you're supposed to hit. But then I realized you're supposed to hit those goblin things that are chilling out on top of the hole. Call me crazy, but this game could really use a storyline. Why the hell am I shooting those goblin things? What did they do? Or they look like decorations. They don't even look like they're living. And you just do the same thing over and over. After you kill those 2, you go on to the next room, and there's 2 more, and you just keep on repeating that. It really sucks because there's more enemies as you go on, and those goblin things, they really turn into bullet sponges. Just like a lot of the other games, the hit mechanics are totally flawed. Both you shooting the enemies and the enemies shooting you, it just seems like it's really lopsided. The next game is Van 1, which I think is a copy of Twin B. It kinda sucks that your ship moves too slowly until you upgrade, and overall the game can get really boring. I'm not a big fan of Twin B. The next game is a clone of Mappy called Bounce, and that's actually a much more appropriate name for Mappy, because on Mappy you spend a lot of time jumping on the trampolines. I like Mappy, so I like this game too. It's also kind of funny that one of the items you collect is the flower power from Super Mario Bros. These clone consoles really seem to like Mappy, but for once I'd like to see one of them put Mappy Land on here because that's a much better sequel. Next we have Resistant. This is the exact same game as Garden Warfare, except the enemies are different and you have these little force fields that you can activate. It has all the same problems, you've seen this before, we're moving on. And our next game is Combata. The jumping in this game is terrible. I can't figure out what I'm supposed to do. You can't predict where you're gonna land or how high your jump is gonna be. Of course, you only have 2 buttons, and one of them throws out ninja stars. The other one is for jumping, but it's the same button to jump up as is to jump down. It's obvious that you're supposed to climb this tower, so I made it to the top, but then nothing happened. So I just waited there for a while, and then out of nowhere, some fire started chasing me. It's a really strange game, and I'm dying to know the mechanics and rules behind it. It also has an intro jingle that I swear just drills into your skull. Moving on to Cuckoo Land, which has a really nice intro song. But once I get to the gameplay, it's really unintuitive. The A and B buttons let you hold onto these posts so you could turn around. It takes a little while to get the hang of it, but aside from killing enemies, I can't figure out what else to do. I don't know how I'm supposed to get to the next stage, or if there is a next stage. But no time for that, now we're gonna look at Aether 2, which I assume is a sequel to my beloved Aether Kvass. And it looks nothing like Aether Kvass. It seems to be a space shooter though, kinda like Aether Kvass, and you just go around shooting these enemies, and there's these smiley face guys. I don't know if you're supposed to protect them or what's going on there. And the really interesting thing is that it has like a Bomberman bonus stage. That's really cool that they combine that gameplay. However, I can't really understand how this game works. I think I got to the next stage by dying. So you see what I mean? I can't figure this out. Next we have Assault, which I thought was a misspelling of assault, but no, it has nothing to do with fighting or warfare or anything. It's about like agriculture. So yeah, you have to try to cover as many blocks as you can and try to avoid the rocks, and yeah, then somehow you make it to the next stage, but other times you don't have to clear all the tiles. It's really strange. Next, this is UFO Race. Next, Cobra of the Sky, which is a very misleading title because it doesn't seem to take place in the sky. Unless you count, like, you know, outer space as the sky, which I guess technically you're right with that. But this has got to be one of the glitchiest fucking games on this whole console. You can't figure out what the fuck is happening with this thing. Everything is constantly glitching out at all fucking times. And I figured out which game they ROM hacked. The original game was Helicopter Harry, which I did play and it made slightly more sense, but not enough to where I could make any sort of progress. Onwards to Bandits, which is just a Donkey Kong 3 ripoff. Except in this game, it seems that Donkey Kong was punched in the face by meth. And also the second stage has a Dig Dug cameo. Otherwise, it's Donkey Kong 3, a pretty decent game. And now we have Highway Racing, which should really be called Highway Commuting. Your car seems to be on cruise control, and holy hell it is boring. To get the full experience of this game, I recommend that you have a radio next to you. That way you could turn on NPR and just pretend that you're on your way to work. But yeah, it's just highway driving. You're on the road, you're avoiding asshole drivers, you're trying to collect fuel, which is misspelled. I might be willing to forgive that, but that's the only fucking word that's on screen the whole time you're playing. You see, nobody checks this shit. The next game is Surface Fire, which is a clone of Centipede. But I don't know, I still prefer Centipede. For some reason, the movement in this one doesn't seem as fluid. I don't know if that makes any sense. Maybe I just haven't played the NES version of Centipede in a while. The next game is Spar, where you play as a furry and a leotard and you just go around beating the fuck out of other furries. When will the furry on furry violence end? You guys are fighting like cats and dogs! So yeah, moving on to Star. At first I thought this game was a side-scroller, instead it's a Defender clone. The animations like the dragon and the explosions are actually not that bad. What is bad though is that it's really hard to figure out what's happening on screen. You're always getting hit, enemies are traveling through the floor and the ceiling and you can't do that. It's just not a very good game. The next game is Coin Tetris, which we've seen before. The only difference I could tell is that the buttons are really sensitive. And then I realized, wait a second, the rapid fire buttons are switched. So yeah, the instructions on the back that told you the rapid fire buttons were on top, that's total bullshit. Instead, the rapid fire buttons are on the bottom, the regular buttons are on top. They don't check anything before it leaves the factory. So armed with this new knowledge, I decided to go back to Combata. And it turns out that was the cause of a lot of my problems. I didn't know I was hitting the turbo buttons. So now that I have the regular buttons, I could actually control my jumps. So here's what I figured out. There are two ways to jump. If you want to jump up, you always have to do it diagonally. And if you don't touch the controls, then you jump straight down. So to beat this game, all you have to do is kill all the enemies on screen. And then it takes you to this really glitched out map screen, which isn't really helpful at all because it doesn't tell you where you're at or how close you are to the end. I was able to get as far as like level 8, but the stages just repeat themselves and they just have different enemies, so there's not really a ton of variety here. I did find a bonus stage though. To reach it, you have to collect 3 of these spheres. And in the bonus stage, you just have to try to collect more of them. There's not really anything else to it. If anybody recognizes this game, please let me know because I'm intrigued now. I want to know if there's a more complete and unbutchered version of this game. And now to the star of the show, Rescue Cuck. And hey, it turns out our cuck to the rescue is none other than Mario. You know, it all makes sense. For being a plumber, the only one who seems to be working on Peach's plumbing is Bowser. Oh no, wait, excuse me, she was kidnapped. Yeah, sure, Mario, keep telling people that. It's only been like 105 fucking games by now. We know better. We know you love smelling those sheets when they're done. Mario, you are a literal cuck! No, I'm just kidding, guys. About the game, not about Mario being a cuck, that's totally proven. Instead, Rescue Cuck on this device is actually Donkey Kong Jr., a game that I always thought, whoa, what the fuck? Okay, China, that's not cool. You took Donkey Kong, a gorilla mind you, turned him into a black person, and kept the cage. Yeah, guys, this is too much for me. How about we try not to make eye contact, move a little bit away from your screen, and let's move on. And next we have X-From, which is actually the game Xerion. Some people really enjoy this game, but I find it too disorienting. The horizon, it kind of moves in like this almost 3D thing going on, and that really doesn't work with this kind of hardware, so you can't really lose yourself in the game here. The next game is Conquerok, which is that stupid water hoop game that we've seen before. And the game after that is Bitha, which is the Puyon clone, which we've seen before. Then we have Konti Enji, which I already knew was going to be Lode Runner because we've seen that before too. And the last game is Rope Walker, which is just the second stage of Conquerok. It's incredibly lazy of them, it even says Conquerok on the tile screen and then it just jumps you to stage 2. I was almost going to give this thing credit for not really repeating any of its games, but leave it to my good friends in China to work extra hard to make sure you leave disappointed. Now, if I could grade this console overall, I gotta say it falls somewhere between terrible and mediocre. I'm not ready to say that it's a complete waste of time because they did have some interesting games here and there. I mean, games like Combata really left me wanting more. And to its credit, I think Garden Warfare and Conquerok are the only games that repeat. So unlike a lot of plug and plays, you do seem to get what you paid for. And while I was testing it out, I really started playing a lot of Konti Enji. Lode Runner is actually a really intricate and really fun game. I've seriously got an appreciation for it now. I want to play the real thing, I'll probably get the original cartridge. And not only that, but this version, the NES Famicom port, I heard that's the worst of the series. So if I'm having fun here with a bootleg copy of the worst, things are only looking up from here on out. So I guess you could say that this plug and play did start my appreciation for another game. But obviously, I still can't recommend that you guys pick this one up. I mean, unless you're just after the novelty of it. The controls are all fucked up, and I'd say about 80% of the games on the list are completely skippable. But hey, at least we proved that China doesn't give a shit about the plug-and-plays they put on the market. And we proved that Mario's a cuck. But that's just a conclusion. A cuck conclusion. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you next time.